Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to another daily devotion. I'm Pastor Roy Carlin here at Woodlawn Christian Church in Lake City, Iowa. We are working our way through the Gospel of Matthew, and we've got to the 14th chapter. This video, by the way, is being prepared for the morning of Thursday, May 19th of 2022. Like I said, we've gotten to the 14th chapter of Matthew. We're going to look at the verses 1 through 12 today. In yesterday's devotion, we talked about Jesus in his hometown and the reaction the hometown had to him, and he wasn't able to do many miracles there and all of that. And it's interesting because these 12 verses we're looking at today, it's kind of a flashback because it's Herod hearing about Jesus and saying, well, who is this? Is he John? Because I killed John. And so it's kind of a flashback. John's been killed previous to this. His timeline is not, it's not integrated properly in the timeline. We don't really know in this timeline when John was killed, but it was prior to this because he's remembering back to what he's saying, who is this guy? Is this John come back to life? So that's what's going on here. But it's interesting that Matthew puts it here, right after the story about Jesus's poor reception, shall we say, in his hometown and how they treated him. And so I think there's something to that, to me anyway. So let's read verses 1 to 12 in chapter 14 and talk about it just a bit more, shall we? So, the death of John the Baptist. At that time, Herod the ruler heard reports about Jesus, and he said to his servants, "This is John the Baptist. He has been raised from the dead, and for this reason these powers are at work in him." For Herod had arrested John, bound him, and put him in prison on account of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife, because John had been telling him, "It is not lawful for you to have her." Though Herod wanted to put him to death, he feared the crowd because they regarded him as a prophet. But when Herod's birthday came, the daughter of Herodias danced before the company, and she pleased Herod, so much that he promised on oath to grant her whatever she might ask. Prompted by her mother, she said, "Give me the head of John the Baptist here on a platter." The king was grieved, yet out of regard for his oath and for the guests, he commanded it to be given. He sent and had John beheaded in the prison. His head was brought on a platter and given to the girl, who brought it to her mother. His disciples came and took the body and buried him. Then they went and told Jesus. Okay, so this is again a flashback. It's part of this, he's remembering back, but part of it's told like it's current event, like Jesus, they went and told Jesus kind of sort of thing. Herodias was married to Herod Antipas's brother Philip. He had gone on a trip there, and he was married himself. He had gone on a trip to visit his brother, fell in love with this woman that was his brother's wife, and they both ditched their spouses and got married, which was against multiple Jewish laws. First of all, the law against divorce, but also being with your brother's wife while your brother's still alive. This is all very bad, very taboo. And so John's not been wanting to tell them how wrong they were, so much so that he got a little bit under Herod's skin, but more under Herodias' skin, his wife, who was actually related to Herod Antipas as well. Would have been his niece, if I remember correctly. But at any rate, they are related, which is not uncommon in royalty there. That probably was technically against some Jewish law as well. But at any rate, she really wanted to get rid of John. She didn't like John telling the truth. She didn't like John pointing out her sins. Herod didn't like it either. It doesn't tell us here in Matthew, but in Luke it tells us that even though John got under his skin, Herod did like to listen to John's teachings. And that's here it says he's grieved who had to have killed John. That's probably why he's grieved. Had nothing to do with the crowds, fearing the crowds. That wouldn't have caused him grief. That would have caused him some anxiety, perhaps, but not grief. So at any rate, John's not been holding back. He's been coming out of both barrels, telling them the truth of their sins. The world doesn't like to hear the truth of its sins. The world today is very much that way. We are rising up against those that would point out our sins, or the world is, I should say. Same thing kind of happened to Jesus. He's going back to his hometown, and he's pointing out where their shortcomings, where they're sinning. Who are you to tell us? You're the carpenter's son, and we've known you forever, and you're not perfect either, by the way. It's just we know. Of course, we know Jesus was perfect, but I'm relating it to us. But that's the whole thing. That inability to accept the message from the messenger, because we knew him too well. But here, the inability to accept the message and coming after the messenger, which is normally what happens, is what's going on in this story. The Herodias and Herod, neither one of them like the message. Neither one of them want to hear their shortcomings, their failings. And John seems to have been letting them know, consequences be danged, as they say. Probably use a different word there, but the heck with the consequences of it. He's not going to butter it up, and he's not going to sugarcoat the truth. And he doesn't. He, of course, gets them. They kill the messenger, but the message stays with them, and ultimately they'll pay the price for it, and we know that they did. So that's I think there's some parallel there. There's reason, obviously, I think, of why Matthew puts this in now when he does. There's got to be some reason for it, and I think it's because the continuity of the rejection of the messenger from the story of Jesus and his reception in Nazareth, and here telling the story of John the Baptist being beheaded because of the message he's relaying. So with that, I'm going to let you go for today. We will pick up with the feeding of the 5,000 for Friday, and then we will move on next week into chapter 14 a little bit further. All right, have a blessed day, and please, please, please be a blessing to someone today. And if you do enjoy the video, as I want to say, like and subscribe. We'd love to have you around more, and share the video. We'd love that too. All right, God bless. See y'all later. Bye-bye.